This is not financial advice, not legal advice, for entertainment, educational purposes only, and anything I say is my opinion. Please don't make any financial decision based on anything I say in these videos. Listen, the young lady in Florida received 20 years in prison for running a Ponzi scheme that cost people about $90 million. Okay? And what she was doing, she was selling MCAs, merchant cash advance contracts, to people when they didn't exist, and then using that money to pay the old investors to keep the Ponzi scheme going. And they're alleging that people lost $90 million because of this Ponzi scheme. And I'm going to ask you guys something. What is the difference between the Ponzi scheme she was running with the merchant cash advance contracts and the Ponzi scheme that these market makers and banks are running with the shares sold not yet purchased? The only difference is that people only lost $90 million with her. In the shares sold not purchased Ponzi scheme, people are losing hundreds of trillions of dollars. And the SEC, the DOJ, and the FBI, they know it's a Ponzi scheme because there's no other way to explain it. Look at what's happening with these shares sold not yet purchased. They sell us shares that do not exist and pocket the money. What was this lady doing? She was selling merchant cash advance contracts that didn't exist and pocketed the money. Then when new investors came in or people wanted their money back, she would take money from new investors to pay the old investors to keep the Ponzi scheme going. How do these market makers keep the shares sold not yet purchased Ponzi scheme going? They need to sell new shares sold not yet purchased to cover the old shares sold not yet purchased in order to keep the Ponzi scheme going. Because here's the thing. Eventually, after you bought these shares that don't exist, you're going to sell them back. And you're selling back shares that don't exist. So how are they paying you for these shares? How are the market makers paying you for these shares? They're paying you for these shares by using money from the new shares not yet purchased in order to pay you for the shares that you never had in the first place. It is a Ponzi scheme just on another level. This lady got 20 years in jail for selling MCA contracts that didn't exist. And when people wanted to cash in their old MCA contracts, she paid them with the money from the new fake MCA contracts. And that's exactly what the shares sold not yet purchased is doing. They sell you these shares that don't exist in the trillions of dollars, and then when you sell the shares back, they take the money from the new shares sold not yet purchased in order to pay you. That is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. There's no other explanation for what they're doing. The market makers with the shares sold not yet purchased, the banks with the shares sold not yet purchased, is running a Ponzi scheme. And if this lady got 20 years in jail and it was only $90 million, not saying it's only because that's still a lot of money, these guys are robbing hundreds of trillions of dollars with their Ponzi scheme, yet none of them go to jail. They have made Ponzi schemes legal because they are the connected investors. They own the politicians, and they get the politicians to approve these rules that make Ponzi schemes legal for them. There is no other explanation for what they're doing. It is a high-tech Ponzi scheme. And if this lady got 20 years in jail for her Ponzi scheme, these bad actors need to get at least 20 years in jail also for their Ponzi scheme that's stealing hundreds of trillions of dollars from retail investors, from pension funds, and from institutions that follow the rules. Anyway, please leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think that the shares sold, not yet purchased, is one big Ponzi scheme? Anyway, have a great day. God bless, and I appreciate y'all on this journey with me.